Billions of dollars from Bloomberg. Philanthropic Colonialism in Vietnam. A U-turn by Health Canada could decimate vaping with sin taxes. News of a very high excise being implemented on both nicotine and non-nicotine e-liquids as part of a wider sin tax proposal in South Africa. First, we go to Vietnam, where talk of a ban has been happening for over a year. Now we know why. $2.3 billion from Michael Bloomberg for tobacco control. Late last year, we did a story on how Vietnam was looking to ban the sale, purchase, manufacture, and importation of e-cigarettes and heated tobacco products. In March, the issue came up again during a meeting of the National Assembly. There, lawmakers reiterated the need for a ban on all safer nicotine products to protect the children instead of developing a regulatory framework with controls. Approximately 2% of high schoolers in Vietnam vape, according to government statistics. That is compared to 11.2% of youth aged 13 to 16 who smoke cigarettes and 23.8% of adult Vietnamese who smoke. The possibility of a risk-proportionate regulatory framework may have been made moot by the $2.3 billion that Vietnam has received from Michael Bloomberg's affiliated NGOs to create tobacco control policy, as was reported by Alice Watson-Brown in the International Policy Digest. In the article, she states, by aiding these harmful bans, Bloomberg, with the WHO in his pocket, is creating a toxic regime of governance. It creates fear where it is not needed over safer smoking alternatives, brings harm to innocent citizens, and exploits economic weakness. Bloomberg's anti-vaping policies are exploitative and wrong. Canada was one of the more rational governments regarding THR. However, they have taken a U-turn, and it has left many wondering if there is any way to save the day.
It's the latest crackdown on vaping aimed at stopping young people taking up the habit. Now BC announces the most comprehensive measures seen anywhere across the country.
We want people to understand that vaping is not smoking. They're not the same thing. They are so far away from each other. These products are an alternative to traditional tobacco cigarettes, and they should be treated as such.
An unamended Bill 45 passed into law as written will certainly destroy the most significant development to public health with respect to these anti-smoking efforts that, frankly, the world has ever seen.
We speak with Maria from Rights for Vapers Canada about what is being done to counter the madness. Maria, thank you for joining us. Everyone is asking, what is going on with Health Canada and vaping?
Thank you, Nancy, for having me here. And I think that's the question that everybody asks, what happened? And I think the big turning point for us was EVALI and the Dr. Hammond study. It was just sort of like a 1-2 punch.
Doctors say the 8 young people came to the hospital with extreme coughs, fatigue, even struggling to breathe.
Seemingly healthy Texas teenagers suddenly unable to breathe and hospitalized with lung failure.
EVALI was the perfect way to get rid of vaping. It was written by a movie production company. We had children, mysterious lung disease. We had children, and then we had beautiful visuals of these lungs and children on respirators. And that took over the narrative here. We totally forgot to ask the questions during that time. What were they vaping?
How is Health Canada funded?
Health Canada and their funding is very funny because they do, based on reports that I have read and seen, that close to 90% of their funding comes from pharmaceuticals. There's nothing clear about how they're funded. per se. I don't know where our tobacco dollars go, tax dollars go to. I'm not sure where our vaping dollars are going to go to when we will be taxed on that in the future. But I am under the understanding that they are funded from taxpayer dollars, and also from a lot of the money comes from pharma.
Has this situation energized the consumer base to get more involved?
The tides are turning, and I can say that with confidence because more consumers have spoken up. We have a lot more advocates, scientists that are seeing the benefits of vaping as a harm reduction product. And I feel that Health Canada is understanding how Canadians feel.
Tobacco harm reduction in Africa is in its relative infancy. Smoking has risen 50% over 35 years, even as it drops in high-income regions. Most, if not all, governments in Africa remain adamant about a quit-or-die mindset for smokers. In South Africa, the government is looking to regulate and impose a sin tax on vape from January next year. A 30 ml bottle of liquid that now costs $12 USD will cost $18 USD. To put this in perspective, the median monthly salary in South Africa is equivalent to $962 US.
Perfect time to stop smoking, guys. We climbed up that and we couldn't even climb up a flight of steps 7 and 13 years ago.
We reached out to a vapor advocate in South Africa to ask questions and get his thoughts on what the situation is. Kurt is a co-founder of Vaping Saved My Life and joins us from Gauteng, South Africa. Hi Kurt, thank you for joining us. The first question is, what is the availability of safer nicotine options there in South Africa?
We have probably the two biggest safer alternative products outside of NRTs would be vaping and then heated tobacco. There's very little around nicotine pouches or snus. I think that is something that should happen, particularly in our lower income communities, because electronic cigarettes and heat tobacco products are just too expensive for the average smoker in South Africa.
What about affordability?
Based on our exchange rate, I mean, everything that we purchase is in the US dollar aspect. So our exchange rate is sitting around about 15.5 or 15.6 to 1. So it literally takes out a large sway of the smokers in South Africa. So typically, if we're looking at a pod device, pre-filled pod device, we're looking at anywhere between 500 Rand up to maybe 600-700 Rand for that particular pod, or the actual starter kit itself. And then devices, you could get away with one of the Chinese-based products for and a 30 ml juice for maybe 600 Rand for that. Which is quite a substantial initial outlay for the majority of smokers in South Africa.
Lastly, what is the main challenge to vaping and safer nicotine products there in South Africa?
The biggest competition is our illicit cigarette trade. South Africa has a massive problem with illicit cigarettes. And that exploded after that 2020 ban of tobacco sales in response to the pandemic. So the cheapest cigarettes that I've seen was R6.80 for a box of cigarettes, a box of 20. So that's really next to nothing. Regulated cigarettes go anywhere between 30 Rand up to around 50 Rand for a regular legal box of cigarettes in South Africa. But the majority of the South Africans don't use those or don't smoke those cigarettes. They smoke the illicit cigarettes. And the other challenge is that most South Africans, or most smokers in South Africa, would tend to buy their cigarettes in singles. They don't buy them in packs. One of the biggest challenges is that there's a very big price difference between a safer product and cigarettes.
Once again, thank you for joining us. Since we've spoken with Maria, Canada has issued their spring 2022 budget, which includes a federal sin tax on e-liquid equal to $10 per 60 ml bottle. And they have requested the provincial governments match the federal tax. This will push the price of a 60 ml bottle of e-liquid in Canada to $45. In saying that, we have also received word that as of the 3rd of August, Malaysia will have a regulated legal market for e-cigarettes. So all hope is not lost that there are wins to be had. We will explore Malaysia in depth in our next episode. In conclusion, I would like to remind everyone that while it seems to be very dark out there, we need to celebrate the wins. Every person that we help is a win, and the more people that are helped, the more we win. I thank you again for joining us, and I will see you next time.